Hey, David, this is David Duford calling you on a recorded line with the final expense price quote you request on Facebook. I literally just saved the guy $43 a month. It's just a few minutes. Is this for yourself or a loved one? So a couple of things that we changed with the opening here, okay? So calling you on a recorded line, that just allows us to record the call and then for us to review the call just to keep it for compliance purposes. So that's why that's there. We say final expense quote you requested on Facebook because that's what they did. Our leads at the dig agency with alpha leads are high intent. The people who request the information know it's about final expense and they know they did it on Facebook. So we use both of those references in the actual Facebook ad, okay? I literally just saved the guy $43 a month. It's just a few minutes. Is this for yourself or a loved one? The reason we talk about saving people money is because what we found is a lot of our clients already have a policy. They already bought from someone and then they requested more information somewhere else. So a lot of our sales that we're getting are coming from price or policy replacements. And also, even to somebody who doesn't have a policy, the fact that you save them a lot of money is an intriguing thing. Think of the Geico ads that are out there. You can save 15% a month. That's been the tagline they've used forever and ever. So obviously there's some interest in people who want to buy life insurance or insurance to save money. So we're playing into that. We're obviously selling the appointment here. It's just a few minutes. Is this for yourself or a loved one? So that's the first question we ask. And of course, this question that we're asking, we're not asking them, hey, does that sound good to you? Or, hey, are you interested in this? That facilitates a yes-no question. And what do we know about when we ask a yes-no question? What's the client going to say? No. No, I don't want to be on a sales call. So when you ask something like, is this for yourself or a loved one? It is a yes question. Yes, this is for myself, or yes, this is for a loved one. And then the next question being, are you a smoker or a non-smoker? And again, that gives us a little bit more information and the ability for them to say yes to something and not say no. Perfect. It's my job to deliver the quote over the phone about the final expense programs. And then we go to the initial questions. Okay. So there's a section we'll get to after this. But this is the opening. Now there's a couple of things that can happen to the opening that you need to be aware of. And there's some objections that can happen. Okay. And we've gotten it worked down to having two different objections. The one objection that we hear a lot is I already have insurance. Okay. And the way that you get this on the phone is, oh, no, I've already got a policy. I already took care of this. I'm already fine. You get people who are kind of, they're just like, hey, I've already done this. I'm not interested. And they're looking to hang up the phone on you. Okay. So the way that we've successfully turned those around is we do more of an interruptive type of pattern. So, and we raise our voice. So as they're saying, hey, I've already got insurance. I'm already fine. You interrupt them midstream and say, hey, great. That's exactly why I'm calling. Stay on the line. I literally just saved a guy $43 a month. Let me do that for you as well. It's just a few minutes. Are you a smoker or are you a non-smoker? So when we interrupt them, what we're trying to do is we're trying to hook them to the concept that hooked them in the ad, which is fine. They obviously request the information. If they got a policy, they're probably interested to see what else is out there and possibly saving money. So that's why we're saying we're interrupting them, because if we let them complete their thought, there's a hang-up potential. Whereas if we interrupt them, and it sounds like rude, but it really isn't, we're now taking back control before they hang up on us, and we tell them to stay on the line, and we reiterate the point that we just saved a guy $43 a month. Let me do that for you as well. And we go back to asking that yes question, getting into the details of what the client's situation is. Does that make sense? Again, this is for people who have insurance. Okay, if we're not interrupting them and getting control of the conversation, we're losing out on this potential to replace their existing policy and get them a better deal. And that's great for us because we have carriers that accept usually issues that are guaranteed issue, like oxygen use, dialysis, congestive heart failure, recent cancer cured, right? And we want them to stay on the line with us. So this is a tactic we use successfully to keep those people with existing coverage on the line to help them get something better. For any other objection, like hey, I'm busy right now. Think of any kind of normal objection. We go into our standard objection rebuttal strategy. Hey, yeah, no problem. I just need a few minutes to get you the pricing you wanted. What you do with it's totally up to you. I'm not going to try to sell anything. I just want to get you the quote, right? We talk about we're going to get you the quote. We're going to get you requested the quote. So we're just getting you the quote. We're not going to sell you a policy. So how long have you been looking? Okay, so that gets us into some of the pre-qualifying questions that we have and gets us further along the lines of building some value. All right, so let me go over to the screen here and see if there are any questions. So I'm just going to pop back on the screen here and see if anybody has any questions about the beginning parts of the script. Let's see here. Kixie, Kixie. Any questions with the script so far? Feel free to throw them in the chat. I'll give you like 30 seconds to do so. If you wanted to switch to the free lead program, if you're already contracted with us, shoot me an email, and then I'll get you in connection with what we need to do to make it happen. Okay. Any questions on the script so far? Just giving you guys a second to ask if you have any. Okay, I'm going to go back, and if you throw your question in there and I miss it, I promise I'll come back to it. Okay, let me go back to the screen here. Lower this back down. Awesome. Okay. So, again, from here on the script, if they've got insurance and we hook them with the quote to save them money, then we're going to go right down to the underwriting section. So believe it or not, we just start asking them questions on their health. We get their age, what's their health, and to go line by line on the script, we say, okay, so let's get you the price quote here real quick. There's that hook we're trying to keep them engaged with. We're going to get you the quote, right? We don't want them to hang up. We just got to keep them on the phone to the end of the call. It's all based on age and health. So what's your date of birth? And so I can verify your age. Remember, price quote is based off of the age and health. So do you have any mild or major health concerns of any kind? So from here, if they say they're as fit as a fiddle and they don't have any health issues, we'll talk about it in a little bit. We just get their height and weight if we haven't already. We also get smoking, non-smoking if we didn't already get that. And then their prescriptions that they use, which if they're healthy, they're probably not going to have very many. And that's the health underwriting we do for somebody who is in good shape. Now, if they say they've got issues, we go through a litany of things. We'll get to that in a minute. I don't want to get too ahead of schedule here because we've got to go back and cover what they say if they're just nice and they don't have any objections, or if they continue the process after some sort of other objection besides having insurance. So what happens here is that we ask, so how long you've been looking for coverage? And then do you currently have anything in place, yes or no? Okay. And again, there's two different word tracks here because what we're trying to do is figure out if they don't have a policy, then we need to spend some time building value. We need to spend some time figuring out what the reason why is, what they want to accomplish, etc. So that's the right side of the screen that you see here. Let me scroll down a little bit so you can see it better. If they have no policy, we go into this section. If they have a policy, then we go into the process of building, of collecting information of what their current policy is. Again, the idea here is if they have a policy, let's see if we get them something better, okay? So again, to go through this, if they have a policy, what we're gonna say is, okay, so were you looking for some additional coverage or to see if you qualify for a lower monthly payment or both? Again, we're gonna see that they wanna add more, save money, get more coverage. What's their kind of their reason why they want, or they're talking to us and why they requested this? Perfect. Well, you're definitely in the right place. Just last week, I had a client say the same thing. I was able to save them $43 a month. Let's cut to the chase and get this done for you. Again, we want to emphasize on the phone, again, we're going to do this. We're going to take care of this, right? We're moving on. We're hooking them in by saying this. And by the way, was your policy a 2-year wait to kick in? And was there accidental coverage with that? Okay, got it. So again, we're collecting this information so we can better position what we're going to sell them if in fact they have a 2-year waiting period product, or they had accidental added to it, which can make the policy sound better than it is, okay? Now, if the person says they don't have a policy, then we go down the second word track on the right, and again, we have to emphasize the tonality, the performance side, and amazed, quieter tone sounds something like this. Wow, well, is there any specific reason why you haven't got something in place? And they'll kind of talk there and then say, well, what's been holding you back from getting a policy? And this kind of tells you what their why is, what they're looking to do, what they're looking to accomplish, and then you engage in whatever conversation happens here or take notes. Usually what they do is talk about their experience with death, why it's important that they have a policy, what they've experienced with other people who've had policies or who haven't, right? And this kind of helps you build the case of why they need to buy from you today, all right? And then from either section here, we go down to the underwriting section where we left off and then collect their information. And then before I go any further, again, I told you the script's going by pretty quickly, much more different than the old ones. Let me go back to the screen here. We're going to switch over here and see if you guys have questions so far. Is replacement a tough process? It can be. But then if you can show them a better value, whether you're either going to save them money or get them more coverage for the same price, or you're going to take them out of a 2-year waiting period product and put them into a first day full coverage product. So if you can demonstrate the value, what I've seen is even mediocre agents who can show a difference are going to get the sale 8 out of 10 times. This is part of the reason why I'm not a fan at all of a one product sale approach. So like a Lincoln Heritage or a Senior Life, if you're just selling with one product, the problem you're going to run into in this business is that person's going to talk to another agent in 90 days. And if you're selling a product simply on price, and this is why I think you should, if you sell for those companies, you should absolutely sell the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society product or the Legacy Assurance product with Senior Life. Because if you don't, you're now in a commodity business, and your commodity, a whole life product, may not be the same in price and coverage value than mine, of which I have multiple products to choose from and sell to. Does that make sense? So I'm not a big fan of one product approaches. And in my experience, most agents don't sell the Sizzle, the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society, the Legacy Assurance like they should, making it an easier replacement process for the rest of us that sell multiple products. So I don't think it's tough. I think it can be tough if you don't have multiple options. Do the alpha lead prospects go through any qualifying answers to indicate level of intent? I don't think so. I think the lead itself is pretty direct on what they would even do to request information. But we have agents converting, upwards of 10% of the leads. So for every 100, they sell 10 policies, and that's really good results as a conversion rate. Anything 5% and over, I consider is really good. Are there other carriers you want us to use besides SBLI, Seeker, Trinity? AIG is a good one for guaranteed issue, as long as the client can do e-signatures. There's some other ones too in the mix, but those are the core ones. Shoot me an email, William. Okay. Let's keep going and go back to the screen on the script. All right. So as we get to underwriting, this is where we throw in that we introduce ourselves, right? Usually we did the introduction earlier. The reason this was moved a little bit later is to progress the process of the presentation a little bit faster so that you don't have to go through all these niceties and formalities and then lose people's interest and hang up on you along the way. So we stick the introduction in here, and this may be a couple of minutes in max, right? So it's not like you have to wait long to do it. But the introduction sounds like this. Oh, by the way, if you missed it, my name is David Duford. Obviously, I'm a licensed broker here in California. I shop all the 30-plus major insurance companies to get you qualified for the lowest monthly price. And the lowest monthly price is my absolute obsession for you. Sound good? So again, we emphasize, we want to get them the best price. That's what everybody likes to hear, okay? And when we go back and we ask the health questions, and if they say, I'm as fit as a fiddle, we go into, hold on, let me make sure I'm right here. We'll ask them these questions, get them prescriptions, major questions. So if they don't have any health issues, we get their height, weight, prescriptions, and then proceed to the payment question. If they have health issues, we get their payment information, and then we do a protracted health information collection here, okay, including asking for the prescriptions, okay? Again, the idea behind this, again, is that speed process to get through the presentation, to get to the bottom line, and then work on selling it after we present a price. So with this process, we only do this if they've mentioned they've got health. And we'll go through each of these to make sure that we're thorough with the issues they've presented to us. If they say they're as fit as a fiddle, we trust them. But understand, if we ask them about the prescriptions, that's going to be a leading indicator if there is problems. So if you're wondering, like, what if our client lies? Well, as we go through the prescription collection, we'll be able to qualify. So you take this prescription, why do you take it, right? And then you can dig a little bit to see if there actually were some issues, okay? So again, 2 different tracks depending on the health of the client. And the goal here is to speed the presentation along so we're not just mired down in issues and redundancy that is unnecessary. Payment question, put in underwriting software before picking carrier. Again, we're going to go through the health questions. We use insurance toolkits, great tool to price and underwrite our clients. That's where we're using it at this point as we look for the payment question. And then, of course, if they're fit and the prescriptions check out, we don't necessarily need to do underwriting. We just run prices using insurance toolkit. So the payment question sounds like this. Some carriers take certain payment methods, others do not. So do you have a valid U.S. bank account? The reason we do this is, again, we want to know if our client has a bank account, or if not, what type of payment card to use, like a debit card, right? And then figure out what to do from there. Like a Prosperity is great for taking Direct Express, common bankless or checkless checking account to use if they don't have a normal bank account. Okay, and we got to know what kind of account they use in order to figure out which carrier we're going to use. So that's critical. Okay, and then once we're done here, we go down to shopping the price around. So we're going to now look for the price range for the client. Now, if the client originally said something earlier on, let's say they already had a policy in place, and they said something like, yeah, I'm paying $100 for this policy. It's a little too much. What can you do for me? Well, we know what their upper budget is, right? So we don't need to necessarily ask for the price range that they're comfortable with. We just need to show them something that's demonstrably better, whether that's the same price with more coverage or a lower price with more coverage, right? Or a lower price with the same coverage, right? So we can skip the shopping price section here if we already have collected this information. So the script, we don't need to go through the budgeting question if they've given this to us. But if they haven't, and let's say they don't have a policy and they haven't indicated their price comfortability or comfort level, then this is where we would say what we would say following as such. So Mildred, everyone I work for is on a fixed income, so the goal is to find you something that you can qualify for and also afford. We wait there to say, yeah, that makes sense, right? They have programs sorted in different price ranges, so I need you to tell me what range to start shopping in. So we let them tell them, in this case, what range they're comfortable with, okay? So if they say something like, well, I'm pretty tight on price, then we'll go to this word track on the right. It says, I know you had some price concerns already. And this next question is just so I know where I should start shopping for you. So should I start shopping in the range between 80 and 100? And then we'll move down if they don't give us 100% yes. So they have to say, yes, 100% I can afford 80 to 100 bucks for me to accept that. If they say something like, well, maybe, or not until I pay off my washer and dryer, then we'll lower it down to 60 to 80, 40 to 60, and go down as low as we can until they say yes, okay? We also like to say, oh, wow, I imagine you don't want this crazy policy at $400 a month. Let's skip that one. That shows them it's called a price anchor, and it shows them how bad it could be. So everything that we're about to show them, 100 to 150 or 80 to 100 sounds a lot better and a lot less expensive relative to the 400. Does that make sense? So when we don't know their price or they don't give us any indication, this is the script that we use. This is the classic premium cell. So now this is just so I know where to start shopping policies for you. So should I start shopping in the range between 100 and 150 a month? So that we start a little bit higher there if they have an express price sensitivity. And then we lower it down in the same manner as before in order to find something they're comfortable with. Again, the idea here is that we don't want them to hang up, right? So if they've expressed price sensitivity and I showed them something at 100, 150, the fear is they'll hang up on us, right? So again, depending on what they say, we have two different word tracks in order to accommodate them. And also, if they've already mentioned the pricing and you know what you're dealing with and what you have to beat, then you can skip this section entirely, okay? Okay, so let's go back, take a moment here, and then let's talk to you guys, see if you guys got any questions here. Yes, AD, if you go to, I'll put it in the chat again. davidduford.com/ISS. I'm going to put the script in there, and I'm going to post the script in the forum after I'm done with the training today, okay? And then, excuse me. Yeah, so you guys can download it and work with it and do what you want. What is your preferred call cadence for those who don't answer? For example, triple dial each lead every day for 5 days straight. Yeah, I mean, call them as many times a day as possible. I don't think there's a limit. If you use Kixie Dialer, they'll rotate out numbers for you, right? So that increases call connection rates. Because if it's the same number calling 10 times in a row, people are going to be like, it's probably a salesperson, right? But I don't believe like you should, should you wait 3 days or 5 days before you call again? No, just call them until they pick up the phone, right? Because behind that phone number is somebody who's going to buy from you, right? So keep going. All right, cool. By the way, you guys enjoying the script so far and enjoying the training? If you do enjoy it, do me a favor, smash the like button. That helps spread this to the YouTube algorithm so other final expense agents like you can see this who desperately need to, that don't get any good training. So thank you so much for watching, guys. And again, if you guys have questions, throw them in the chat. Be happy to address them. Okay. Now going back here, we're going to go back and continue with the script, getting through it pretty quickly here. And then let's see what else here. So how much coverage are you looking to get? We do ask them kind of what they have in mind that they'd like to have. Most people have an idea of what sounds good if they haven't told you by now. And then at this point, we ask them to go get something to write these price quotes down with pen and paper. So we want them to write the price down. It gets them engaged in the sales process. It also, we mentioned we're going to show them the price quotes, so they're getting ready to get the information. And this is the point where we talk about the why and the problem, okay? Again, this is for people who don't have coverage. So we want to make sure that they understand the why and the problem. If they already have a policy, the way that we're addressing that is that, hey, we just assume, hey, you know why you have this. You understand your reason why. The reason why you're buying from me is to get a better deal. But the incumbent, do you think it's important to have life insurance stuff? Like that's all been taken care of. So we're not wasting our precious time over the phone reminding of that, and we're assuming they already know that. But for the people without coverage, we want to build some value, okay? So script goes as follows. Perfect. So while you're doing that, can you describe for me what your thoughts and concerns were that caused you to want to go get this amount of coverage? Who are you trying to protect it, okay? If they don't say they have a reason or they're just getting old and, you're not getting any younger, you say the first reason is, I understand that, Mrs. Jones, and what has happened. So what has happened in your life that has made you decide now is the time to seriously look at getting a plan in place? The second one is if they say it again, the last try would be try one last time, move on to after this to get the price. Well, so usually it's one of three reasons. Mrs. Jones, either it's someone's passed away recently, someone has had a recent health scare, or someone's had an accident. Which one is it for you? So here we're trying to feed them some reasons as what their why may be. Okay. Again, they connect the reason why with why they should have a policy. All right. So moving on. Mildred, if you do not get a policy, who is going to get stuck with the bill? Again, we wait here and pause. And are they going to be the beneficiary? And then how on earth is the beneficiary, Sally, going to even pay for this, right? And you want to say that in a tonality that's kind of shocked and in awe. Like, how would they pay for this, right? And we do this, again, to build some fear into this. Like, if you don't take care of this, let's walk through mentally what's going to happen to that client when they die, and that beneficiary now has to come up with money they don't have. If they don't know what's going to happen, and they don't really talk about it, the follow-up here is, do you think they'd have to get a loan to pay for it? If it's an answer to the yes to the loan, we say, well, maybe they could, but wait, what's their credit score? They'd have to get great credit to get a loan in 24 hours, How would you feel if they had a $500 a month loan payment over their heads for the next 10 years? So the idea here is to kind of conceptualize the pain and the actuality of them being able to even get a loan. And then if they have somebody who could pay, what we say to that is, that's great to know, but do you really want them paying out all this money to bury you? How would that make you feel if they had to fork over all that money? Again, we're trying to get them to feel shameful for having to spread this burden to somebody else who probably would be unexpected to them and may not even be able to do it at the time. And do they really want to put that burden on them? Again, why do we say all this and why are we doing this? Because we're trying to make an impact into the prospect's mind that you got to buy this stuff. And if you don't, there's serious problems that are going to come from this, okay? How would you feel, other things that we ask in this section, how would you feel if Sally had to struggle to pay your funeral costs because you put the decision off again? Mildred, you need to make a decision to change something here. This is a problem we can fix. And then we do an empathy summary, and we summarize everything they said. So what I'm hearing here is that you need to get a policy because you're worried that Sally not going to have the money and you'd hate to leave it behind. You'd feel full of shame. Is this why you need to get this done? Okay. And again, this section is for people who don't have a policy. We would skip all this if they did. And then we move down here. So at this point, product value differentiation and underwriting. Okay, so here's the price, again, hooking them back in. I just want to make sure we choose the right product for you. Do you know the difference between term life and whole life? Term terminates. Yeah, whole life lasts your whole life. And again, with our policy, your coverage never cancels and the monthly payment never goes up with this product, right? So again, we've really truncated the description of what it is that we do to get the point across quickly to the client and not to waste precious time to lose the attention of the prospect. Now it's at this point where then we go into what kind of option we can get with the client. If they're a level policy, first day full coverage, their health qualifies for it, then what we say is this. So after I do this application for you, you should qualify for level first day coverage. That means absolutely zero wait time, no 2-year wait. From the date of your first payment, you're 100% fully covered for the full amount. And I'll tell you the amount here in just a second, again, hooking them back in. If they're a GI or 2-year wait, what we say is, so after I do this application for you, you should qualify for one of our most popular plans. If you die in the first 2 years, your family gets all of your money back plus 10%. So it's like the best savings account you ever had. At the final day of your 2 years, they get the full coverage amount if you die for any reason. It's really a blessing to have this kind of coverage when you have COPD, Alzheimer, cancer, and everything else under the sun, right? So this is us selling the product and the benefits of how it works. So let me take a little break here to see if you guys have questions about the script so far, if there's anything that I can qualify or explain a little bit more. All right. You're welcome, Lisa. Thank you very much. Yeah, definitely to the point. The good old back the hearse up against it. We're definitely hearse backing against the door. But yeah, we're getting to this is a lot faster for those of you who've been around. I mean, like this thing goes. This thing, I mean, we're flying through this. And again, we're not leaving any detail out. I think we're hitting the detail. You can see it, but you can see how we're progressing quickly through the beginning of the call. And that's really the main thing I think that's most important is we don't want to lose these prospects before it's too late, especially the ones that have bad policies that we can get better policies for, right? And that's the genius, I think, of Tim's iteration of this script is it helps us do just that, okay? All right. So if you guys got questions, throw them in the chat. Let's continue to move along here. I'm going to pull back the script. Okay, so you guys remember where I mentioned how to virtualize your telesales call. So here's a little pro tip for you guys to use doing telesales that we've seen some really good results from. So I'm going to reveal that right now in the script. So have any of you all heard of crank wheel? So crank wheel is a way to get your a video of you sent to the client live, like a live stream, just like you're watching me right now, without the client having to set up anything or the client needing to be on camera his or herself. The beauty of this is that it allows you to create a connection with the client so they can see you're an actual real person and only have to click, I think they just need to click a link that is texted to them. So when they click that, they see you on the camera waving at them saying the following, by the way, I just sent you a link to my personal info. Please click on that so you can make sure you get it. And then they click on it. You say, hey there, do you see my lovely face? It's good to meet you. Now you can see me, right? Yeah. And be charismatic, confident, meet and greet, gain the rapport. This is a cool little technique to just personalize the sales presentation a little bit more. And I can assure you, we have agents who use this that get the sale because they use the crank wheel option, okay? So you can text them a business card, but I like crank wheel because as you talk to them, they'll see your mouth move and see it all. It's like, hey, it's a real person. I think that's so important, especially there's an impersonal aspect to telesales that you don't get with face-to-face, but this bridges the gap and makes, I think, people doing this and believing in you that much better, right? So use crank wheel. I think it's great. So getting the price now, hooking the back end, Mildred, so you don't have to pay anything today, or you don't have to pay anything today. Did you hear that? Just making sure you understand, no payments today. That's, if you don't say that, by the way, what we've seen, a lot of clients will resist from buying because they think they have to pay today. So this is why we include this in the script. This is buy now, pay later. You don't have to pay anything today. Also, any of the pricing options is okay to choose. Higher or lower is totally fine. All we have to do from here is just submit your application to the insurance company, make sure you actually get an approval. Want them to say, okay. You can choose whichever amount of coverage you want. You're the one in control. Here we go. You ready for me to tell you the prices? Perfect. So we go from biggest to smallest in our price presentation. I'm not sure why Tim does that actually. Maybe if he pops on here, he can explain it. And then my job is just to submit to you the application, see if you can get the approval. So which one do you want to get the approval for? So we say that, that's a little softer than saying which one do you want to buy, which one fits your budget best. Getting approval is a little bit of an easier way to get commitment, okay? And we give them 3 different prices, right? So, so if we're doing, say the client agreed to 80 to 100, I'll show 100, or I'll show 120, 180. That's what I would do. I like a little stretch goal with my prices, but they've got 3 options. They write them down, and then we ask them which one they want to get the approval for, okay? Again, here's where that quote fast, sell slow comes into. So it's at this point, they're going to have objections, they're going to have questions, but look at them more as questions and reason. They're helping them to get reasons to buy than thinking it's like some grind out objection handling session here. They're going to have some questions for you, so feel free to overcome them. We're going to kind of go over some of the script here, but with the notes here in the script, if you sense their hesitation, work it out, find out the true objection, handle it until they sound satisfied, confirm their confidence. So you're good with picking one now, which one you want to get an approval for. So make sure you're closing them, is in a sense what Tim has written here, or something like that, confirm that they're actually buying into it and are fully persuaded now. So if they buy, they're like, okay, I want to do that one. The script you're going to say is on the left side. Great, I'm already in the company website doing the application for you. Please spell your last name. This will literally take just a handful of minutes. Again, emphasizing that it's just really quick. And then get the rest of the information, do the app, and prepare for objections because they're going to come, okay? You can also say if there's objections, misunderstandings, like I need to think about it, or I'm not ready. The formula we use, there's some objections we'll talk about here in a minute, is the understand, re-explain, reassure, and reiterate and reassert. So we say, yes, the price is too high. Yes, I totally understand that. But again, you don't have to go with the 120. Why don't you go with the $80 a month? That's a way better price. You should feel totally confident with that. And look, this is going to be the best value for you. Don't you agree? And then we go back up there and we say, like we said above, so which one are you good with? You want to pick with that one now? Do you want to get approval on that? And we just reassert, and then they agree. Okay, so this is the formula we use. We'll go over some objections here in a minute. This is just questions about the crank wheel. We'll skip that because we kind of explained it. Here's some questions they'll ask that are kind of like the objection questions here at the end. So here's how we handle them. What is the policy? What kind of coverage it is? Oh yeah, of course, it's whole life insurance. It's not term. It's not accidental insurance. This payment never goes up, and the coverage never cancels. And as simple as that, it's the best policy out there. If it's level coverage, I'm going to say it's first day full coverage from the first payment. And then I'll say, does that sound good? You want to go ahead and get approval. Which one do you want to get approval for? So for me, I want to wait, but then go ahead and then close them again on it. Hesitation, objection. I don't have time to do the application, but I'll do it another day. So you'll get that sometimes at the end. So here's where I say, oh, I know the companies out there are slow applications, taking like 45 minutes to do. But what people don't know is our app carriers are really fast with their applications. I do applications 6 minutes flat. I'll always respect your time. So what's your street address? Let's just blast through this real quick and see if they'll approve you. And what's your payment date? Remember, you're not going to pay anything until that date. So we're just assuming the sale. We're like, hey, this is really quick. Don't worry. And then closing with some assumptions here. What's your address? You don't have to. What's your payment date that you want again? Right? And remember, you don't have to pay today. Again, we say that so many times because it's so common, what you'll hear a lot of the times. Okay? If you don't object it, they won't even say, I don't want it because I have to pay today. They'll just say some other objection, right? So that's why we verbally say this. Hey, you don't have to pay today, remember. because that we want them to understand that there's no financial investment today, because that's such a hang up. Objection, my policy is much cheaper. Okay, I need to make sure we're comparing the same product. You know, does your current policy have any accidental? Does your current policy ever cancel? Does the payment ever go up? Which company is it? Get them to get the policy if you can. Don't waste his time on this unless it'll sell it. So again, sometimes it's like you can tell when you're asking these questions. That's what Tim's referencing here. The point is, the goal with this line of questioning is to see if it's accidental or a term that's expiring. If it is, try to replace it. They should not feel good about it. Be scared for them. You know, hey, this is not good. You got a policy that's expiring in 5 years. You're not going to have anything. Why would you want to have this policy? What if you live? Well, you're probably going to live past this. Why would you have this if that's the case, right? If it's straight whole life, you cannot beat it. Get off the phone and go quote somebody else, right? So if you find out there's just no way to do anything about it, then move on. Is the idea there? Okay. So again, a little break here just to see if there's any questions, and then we'll go back to some of the objection handling. Yes, it's not there, Steve, because I haven't put it there yet, but I will after this concludes. And by the way, for the new people on the chat, davidduford.com/ISS, set up a new account. I will give you access, and then I will upload this after the event is done. Is there a chance of reluctancy to sign today because by having them write the price down? Is it possible the act of getting the price, writing it down, plant the seed to continue shopping, getting price? I don't think so. We do that because we want them to look at something and be able to make a decision, right? I think if you rattle off coverage, like give them 3 face amounts and then 3 coverage amounts and then 3 prices, they're probably not going to remember it, right? So the first one's $15,000 for $67.50. The second one's $8,000 for $50.09, and the third one's $8,000 for $45.71. Which one do you want to do? And they're like, okay, how much was the 10? Now we're getting them to think too much, and somebody who's confused because they got to think through what you just said to them is likely not going to buy, right? So writing it down makes it easier to sell and buy. Good, Cody. Somebody's making some money off this. Good. You're welcome, Lori. Cool. Okay. All right, let's continue. All right. So a couple of objections here. We're kind of moving into the objections side of the phase of what we're running into. We're going to just blast through those real quick. But when we ask the social security number, we call it the social number. All right. Just like every other company, they do a medical and prescription background check using your social number. So go ahead and hit me with your social number. Do not say social security number, right? Because that's a triggering word. People will think you're a scam. You don't need my social security number, right? So a social number is what we use, okay? So that's what we're going to say as we go through the application and begin filling it out, all right? Now here are just some objections here. We'll go over these just very briefly. I'll hit a few of these, and then you guys can read through it because there's quite a few of them, and my voice is starting to rapidly deteriorate. Okay. We'll go to the cool down after this one. We'll do like the first 3 here. So probably the most common ones that we hear at the end of the call are, I need to think about it. I need to talk to my kids. And then I'm not giving you my social security number. Okay? And the bank account, which is basically the same. So when they say I need to think about it, here's what you say. That's fine, Mr. Jones. I can understand you feel that way. But when you say I need to think about it, how do you mean? So I need to think about it's an excuse. It's not a reason. So there's some underlying reasons why that we need to flesh out. So by saying how do you mean at the end of that sentence, it gets them to give you more information as what the true objection is. And once we get that, maybe it's the price, maybe it's the timing. So, okay, besides price, is there any other issue than the price that needs to be addressed before making a decision? So we isolate the objection so that we know that's the only thing we need to overcome. And then here's how we sell why they should take it, despite the price being that way. So great, here's my proposition. We can do less than $80 a month, Mildred. So why don't we do this? I pulled up a number. Let's go to 60. $60 is $7,000 in coverage, and $50, $6,000. Look, that's a lot less than what the other ones are. It's still going to cover the vast majority of your funeral expenses. Which one do you want to get approval for today? Right? So that's how we would do that. That's one way. You can use the script and say, hey, let's do $60 or $70 a month instead. Bottom line, we don't know when if you can qualify for it, or if your health isn't promised tomorrow, right? And isn't some coverage better than none? Plus, we can always add more later. I like adding that we can always add more later line in because Some people think they got to get everything they want up front or nothing at all. Whereas we can just start them with something, a starter program, and then add more later, right? And then the close is, who do you want your beneficiary to be? If it's not, so which one of the 60 or the 70 you want to use in that case, okay? I need to talk to my kids. We got to talk them out of that because they're not going to talk to their kids. Their kids, they're going to talk to them and they're going to say, Mama, you don't have to spend money. We'll take care of this. And they don't have the money. It's a bad idea. So here's what we like to say. That makes perfect sense to me. I totally understand. I'm sure your kids love you and want to do the best thing and care for you, right? I'm curious, Mrs. Jones, what do you think your kids will tell you? If they don't say they'll tell me not to buy it, then suggest, do you think they'll probably tell you they love you and they'll take care of it and you don't have to give them this gift? Mrs. Jones, just be totally real with me here. Is this a gift you want to give your family member no matter what they say? Again, the idea is they sell themselves on this. So if they say do it, or if they say don't do it, you really want to give them gift anyways, right? Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah. What most people do with their policies is basically hide it like a Christmas present. I think because none of us ever asked our kids permission to buy them a gift when they were younger, we don't ask them now that we're older. They're going to sacrifice too much for us, and you don't want them to sacrifice their financial future for your sake, right? So bottom line is we don't even know if we can get you approved for this gift you're buying for them. So let's continue with the application here, see if we get approval. After you get approved, you can put a nice ribbon on the insurance policy like a gift and hide it away from the final day comes. So go on and spell your last name for me. So there's that one that's good to use. We also have this other variation. Great. So here's my proposition, Mrs. Jones. I think we both agree your children would prefer you having coverage over not having coverage, right? I mean, how would you feel if your children had to pull 10 grand out of nowhere to pay for your funeral expenses? Further, would you expect your grandkids to pay for your kids' funeral? And that's a good little mental game there to play. It's like, yeah, why would my grandkids pay for my kids? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, so of course not. So let's get you qualified for this plan so you can show your kids your plan after the fact, and I can help with the questions that arise. So who do you want your beneficiary to be? And that closing question is to get into the application, okay? Here's what we say if they have the Social Security number issue. I can understand that. Here's the thing. Bottom line, you need to know you need to have coverage, right? You told me as much, considering you've talked about wanting to get this for your loved ones and getting them peace of mind, not worrying about the final expenses. And in order for us to get you approved, the company has to pull medical records. And the way every insurance company does is by using your social number. Rest assured, your privacy is 100% safe because it's stored with the carrier. And if I don't live up to my promise, look, I'll lose my job. And I got to put food on the table, right? And all these companies take your information seriously and aggressively fire agents who don't. So what's your social? Okay. It's kind of the same thing here with the bank account, right? Right. I'll leave some of these other objections for you guys to read through. There's quite a bit of them. Last little bit here is the transition to the cool down. So after you get the policy written up, you get on the application, and it's been approved, here's what we need to do to end the call. First, ask the client to grab a piece of paper to write the coverage down, your name and phone number on a piece of paper, and then you say the following. Okay, so to wrap this up, we've taken out a $12,000 policy. It's day one coverage, 100% from the first day. It's $50 a month. The rate never increases, and you cannot be canceled due to age or health. And down there is my phone name. You've written it down. Please feel free to call me with any questions about your policy. I'm your agent for life. At this point, do you have any questions? How do you feel about the coverage? Is the price? So this is all like, let's hear them say, yes, it's good. Yes, the price is great. Yes, I don't have any reason to get rid of this. I want to keep this. So this is that line of questioning here. And at this point, talk about anything other than insurance for a couple of minutes. Go back to maybe something they mentioned as you're asking health questions, or they brought up that was unique and interesting, and leave the call in a way to where the client feels like, hey, that's a nice guy, nice gal, really cared about me and did a good job. Okay? All right. And that is pretty much the bulk of the objection handling. Again, I'll leave you guys to read the rest of the script. So with that said, let me transition over, and I'm going to open this up for questions related to the script, or any questions that you have in general. Maybe you've popped on here late and you have questions about the business. It doesn't have to be necessarily about the script. That's totally fine too. Be happy to address them. And then what we're going to do is, again, after this is over, go to davidduford.com/ISS. The script will be uploaded word for word, everything that you just saw and more that we didn't get to. And you guys can jump in and pull it down. Okay. Let's see here. So again, I will answer questions for as long as you guys list them out. So if I get to the bottom here and there's just a few, then we're done. So if you got questions, type them out now, and I'll be happy to address everything. But as we get to the bottom and we're done, we're done. Okay? Just a facts, ma'am. Is there a risk of them not signing today by having them write down the price? Oh, I think we talked about that. The short was no. I don't think that you got that. Writing them down and getting that stuff clarifies any confusing points. If you rattle off a bunch of prices and coverage amounts, they're not going to remember. And they're going to ask you, well, I don't know which one. What is the number again? And when you confuse them, they don't buy. Confused people don't buy anything. Crank wheel, how do we get it? Google search it, and you'll be able to get it. Okay. I don't think it's very expensive. I don't have the exact numbers. If somebody's using it, throw it in the chat. It's worth the investment. Hey, Guam Tech, if you go into free lead program, is it possible to switch back to buying leads in full commission? Yes, it is, but it's highly not recommended. Most agents fare better just staying on free leads. And this is an industry issue. I think it's a psychological issue. There's something that changes when you go from a free lead program to buying your own leads. And it's like the difference between being a salesperson and a business owner. There's different sets of responsibilities. You're now financially at risk for, your investment in leads, and that can play with your head. So my take on it is if you're really doing well, keep doing really well with the free lead program. But with that said, we'll let you move to broker if you insist. Thank you, Cheryl. Kenya, where would you put the particulars of the Legacy Funeral Consumer Guardian Society in the script? Interesting question. Why don't we take a look together? So this is for my Lincoln Heritage friends and also the senior life people, or if you're selling SBLI and you're using their Sequoia plan. I would probably insert this. So I'm going to go way back up here, closer to the close. I would probably insert this right as we're talking about, right in here. So blah, 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 blah. Also, then insert your kind of like a 3-sentence script on the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society Legacy Assurance Sequoia plan. Make it brief, get to the point, don't belabor it, right? But definitely insert it because it's a distinction that you guys have that can help you sell the deal that much better, right? Now, the other thing I would suggest is, also compare notes with, Lincoln Heritage and Senior Life managers and how they script this, because I would think, again, I'm not a Senior Life Lincoln Heritage salesperson, but if I think this is where, at least at the minimum, I would put this. But I might also include it in other parts of the script, because having that product or that sizzle, I call it the sizzle to the steak, having that as a part of your script is really important because it justifies the higher prices. What you're attempting to do is justify the higher prices that Senior Life and Lincoln Heritage on average have compared to other options. And the only way to justify higher prices with higher perceived value. And if you don't use the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society, this, it's you commoditize, meaning, what's your whole life product any different from mine, but besides coverage and price. So you really have to make sure you're selling that benefit. Maybe you sell that at the close, maybe post-close, but you have to include it in the script to differentiate if you're gonna make, especially if you intend to replace, because you're not going to win based off of price and coverage. You're going to have to win on getting them to believe the perceived value.